Greetings, women in digital business, as well as all of our audience, our guests who are here today. Greetings. It brings me so much pleasure to introduce myself to the world as a wound healer. My name is Trenice Jackson. I am 27 years old, located in the Chicagoland area, born and raised, and it brings me so much pleasure to affirm right here in front of you all today that I am a womb healer. So let's get started with my class. So my class is going to be everything about the womb, right? We're going to talk so much about our cycle, the different phases that our cycle goes in. But my job here is not to just tell you things that you can simply just Google, right? But to give you a more in-depth analysis of our different phases that we go through in our menstrual cycles, as well as to equip you with some tools and some resources so that you can be your own womb healer, right? As much as you can be, as much as you can help it. Before I dive into all of the information, I would love to give you the backstory as to how I got started on my journey. So I started pretty young, right? We're women, so I'm already knowing that this is a safe space. Let's just go ahead and just say that. And I'm not afraid to put myself out there and to put my story out there because it's my truth. And so from a very young age, I like to say that I was initially very scared, right? My body is changing. There's, oh my gosh, what is going on with me? I kind of dealt with a lot of anxiety, I guess you can say, when it came down to my cycle, right? From a very young age, just because of the intensity that I would feel, my body going through all of these different changes, and I remember having so many talks with my mom, because I was so curious about my body. I was so curious about what a period or a menstrual cycle, more scientific term, what all of this entails, like what's going on, what's gonna happen, and what do you mean I'm gonna experience this every month for the rest of my life until I hit menopause. But lo and behold, as time progressed, honestly, I just got to know myself. As a very young teenage girl, I became very hip to knowing when my cycle was coming. I became very hip to knowing what my body was signaling me, whether it was cramping, whether it was headaches, whether it was the cravings, whatever it was. I mean, as a little girl, growing up, a teenager, preteen, all throughout those years, I was pretty much spot on and on it when it came down to my cycle. I didn't really play no games about it because I suffered a lot from cramps. I suffered a lot from nausea. I suffered a lot from pain. I remember being 15 years old, and my parents used to have to consistently take me to the emergency room, right? Consistently take me to the emergency room because I experienced so much pain. I mean, if the scale was from 1 to 10, at the time, my pain broke that scale. I found myself literally in the hospital month after month. There were times when I think my biggest scar was when I was 15 years old, and I just remember constantly throwing up. Like, there was literally nothing on my stomach. At this point in time, I think maybe my stomach acid, not to be too TMI, but just gonna be transparent here and speak my truth. But there was a lot of times when I was like throwing up at this particular time, and like my stomach acid, there was like nothing on my stomach, but my body, right? My body kept regurgitating, and almost like rejecting my cycle because of how painful it was. Sometimes I wouldn't feel better until I either threw up or yeah, either I would literally have to wait until my body would be done in order for me to feel better. And that was because of all of the hormonal changes. I mean, the fluctuations and everything that was going on with my body. It was really intense. And I remember this particular time that I'm speaking on when I went to the hospital, and the doctors finally decided to try to run some tests on me to see, what's going on with her. Because when I tell you it was that unbearable, I literally couldn't sit down. I literally could not. I couldn't sit down. Like, I couldn't just sit down and be still. There was even a nice woman in the waiting room that said, please let her go ahead of me because she looks like she's really in pain. And I really was. The doctors had to like give me an IV and things like that just to subside all of the pain that I was in and that I was dealing with at the time. So just to express that point, that kind of lets you know where I was at with my cycle. You know, I remember growing up being so, I don't really like to use the word jealous, but, you know, just, you know, in that state of mind, because speaking with my friends about their cycles, a lot of my friends really didn't have too many issues, you know. Of course, there were a few friends who also had experienced a lot of menstrual cramps and things like that. But for the most part, it wasn't common. You know, I realized, wow, this isn't common for me to be in this much pain. You know, how come everyone else isn't experiencing this pain? I'm experiencing this pain. And I remember being at the hospital and them running a test on me. They did like an ultrasound or whatever. And come to find out, one of my ovaries that was traveling through my fallopian tubes had actually ruptured, which kind of gave the signal to my body to basically be in the wonky state that it was in, right? All of the pain, all of the vomiting, right? It was a side effect of the fact that my body was kind of going through a tough time at the time. And I remember having so many talks with my mother and being like, hey, like, you know, what was your cycle like? Did you go through this in a similar fashion? And turns out she did, you know, and turns out so many generations, right, before me were experiencing so much pain. They were going through this month after month. And I'm like, wow, no one knew what to do to solve that pain. Not only did my mother confirm that she would experience that same pain growing up until she hit menopause, but my grandmother did as well. Asked my grandmother, all of her sisters, and her mother did as well. So we're talking about a very long generational inheritance, as I like to call it, of inheriting, you know, because it kind of gets passed down through the bloodline, right? Long history of just, you know, pain, basically, and not knowing what to do about it. You know, my own mother even got to a point where her pain levels became so outrageous that she even decided to have a hysterectomy, right? Respecting her choice. That is her body, her choice. But I knew that I wanted to do things differently for myself. I know that I didn't want to, because, you know, a lot of people would say, oh, when you have kids, you know, it'll go away or things like that. I decided to go about it in a more educating route, I guess you could say. I wanted to educate myself. I wanted to know more about my body. I didn't want to blanket a disease that I could possibly have, and things like that. So I just felt that it was necessary for me to really be accountable with my healing. And that is how I got started with my healing journey. I found myself at the age of 24 years old, really doing a lot of research and finally getting to a point where I'm just like, you know what? I can't go on like this anymore. I remember going to the doctor that one final time, and the doctor, me literally asking the doctor, like, hey, do you have a diagnosis for me? What is this? Because this is not normal. And most doctors will literally tell me that, oh, if you are always in pain like that, then that's just how your cycle is. And I would be like, no, there is no reason for me to be in pain over something that is supposed to naturally happen, right? We naturally have cycles every month, right? This is something that's natural, that's supposed to happen. So if it's natural, why does it hurt? It doesn't hurt for me to wake up in the morning. It doesn't hurt for me to do some simple things like eat. You know, those things are natural, right? Your body does natural things. It doesn't hurt for me to breathe. So why would it be painful for me to have a menstrual cycle? You know, I found myself wondering, what did I do to deserve this? So, and I remember that doctor literally just kind of like saying, okay, well, since you want a diagnosis, I'll give you one. And he basically just wrote me off with dysmenorrhea. And for those who don't know, dysmenorrhea just means that you have painful periods. It means that your periods are painful and that they're slightly heavy. And for me, that wasn't enough because it wasn't a real diagnosis. It was more so a term for the condition that you're dealing with. It wasn't a diagnosis, really. I guess at the time I was looking for, is it endometriosis? Is it pelvic floor disease? Is it fibroids? PCOS? What is it? You know, I was really trying to figure out because I really just felt like that pain that I was feeling was super unnecessary, and I just knew that I could do something about it. So because I didn't really get an answer, and dysmenorrhea was actually considered a symptom, a precursor to one of those diseases, I said, I can't wait any longer. I'm not going to wait until, you know, the pain gets that unbearable, or wait until I have children. And then once I'm done having children, the pain comes back. I just decided that I wasn't going to wait. I wasn't going to blanket it, and that I was going to take full advantage of my smart brain that I have and the resources and tools that I have in front of me that most of my ancestors and my mothers and my grandmothers, they didn't have access to the things that I had access to. So I decided to take matters into my own hands. And because of that, I have actually dropped a day off of my cycle. I went from 5 days to now 4, which is beautiful for me because that once I dropped down to 4 days, I knew that I was making progress. I knew that something that I was doing was working, whether it was me being in tune with myself, my diet, whatever it was, I knew that I was doing something good and right for myself. And because of that, I have birthed my business, Eternal Sunshine, Womb Wellness, and Spirituality. Because there's so many whys that I can jump into when it comes down to my business. I feel as though, you know, as women, we are multifaceted. There's so many things that we can do. I would really look at us as women as superheroes, right? We are superwoman. We all got capes on with an S on our chest, right? But because there are so many different things that's going on in the world with ourselves, with our families and loved ones, we can't do everything. So I decided that I was going to prioritize womb wellness, not only for myself, but I was going to let my cup overflow. And as it overflowed, I'm going to pass it and give it out to people as well. Because sharing is caring, and I actually really care about not only my journey, but I care to share it with everyone else as well too. And I made sure that I tagged in spirituality to the end there, because most people don't understand that a lot of diseases, whether it's in the womb, in your heart, in your gut, wherever it is, right? Any sickness or illnesses that we may get, heart disease, cancer, things of that nature, diabetes, everything manifests and starts in the spirit first, right? It kind of goes back to when we were babies, right? Before you get the form in your hands and your feet and everything like that, you know, one of the main things that the doctor does is checks for a heartbeat, you know, and stuff like that. So that kind of just lets you know that, in a sense, that, you know, we're spiritual beings first before we come into our physical form. We're spiritual beings first. That's the natural cycle of life, right? You get a thought in your head and you go, man, that is a good idea. And then you manifest it and bring it into physical reality. So I made sure that I prioritize the spirituality part because it is super duper duper important to understand our diseases, especially as it relates to women. So because spirituality is important, it is important for me on this class that I also talk to you about the spiritual components that when it comes down to our womb. So let's jump right on in. And please excuse if you see me looking over. I'm just making sure that I'm staying on top of my notes, okay? So we're gonna look at my best friend right here, okay? Let me turn this just a little bit there. We're gonna look at my best friend right here. What you're looking at here is called the 7 chakras. You may already know that, right? And so we have the crown chakra. The crown chakra is known as your universal center, right? It's where basically all of your thoughts are housed, right? This is where the main spirituality component of your essence is located, right up here. This is where you are connected to what you will call God, the universe, any higher powers that you call on. It's all connected here, right at the top of your head. Next, we have the third eye chakra, right here, located right in between your brows, right there, okay? This is where you get all of your vision, all of your focus. This is where, in a spiritual sense, where you're able to see the oneness within yourself and as well as within other people as well. Here we have the throat chakra. Right here at the throat chakra, obviously right here at the throat, this houses your thyroid, not to mention that the third eye also houses your pineal gland as well. So as I'm going through the chakras, I'm going to also make sure that I mention the organs that are associated with the chakras because it all relates. So backing track just a little bit here. The crown chakra is your brain hemispheres, okay? That's where your brain is connected to all of these different, if we could see it, right, you would see all of these different webs just shooting up and connecting to all of these different things, right? Connecting with God, connecting with, because you're connected to the universe. You're connected to all these different truths and things like that, right? It's where you get those aha moments, because you're connected. You really are. And so here with your third eye, this is your pineal gland. This is where this is your pineal gland. This is where it's also considered a part of your frontal cortex, prefrontal cortex. So this is where a lot of your decision making comes in at, your ability to see things as they are. That's where that comes in at. Right here at the throat chakra, we have your thyroid is located there. Okay, so your thyroid is also a good hormonal regulator as well. Not only is it a good hormonal regulator, but your throat chakra is also really good with you speaking your truth, and as well as you communicating and things like that, speaking up for yourself and just expressing yourself. Right here, we have the heart chakra. And your heart chakra, need I say more? It houses your heart, right? As well as your lungs, because your lungs are connected to your heart and everything like that. So, this is your center for love, human connection, and things like that. Right here, we have the solar plexus. Your solar plexus houses your stomach, it houses your pancreas, as well as your liver. So this handles a lot of your digestion, a lot of your action. Okay, this is where you take action. This is where you also learn to uphold your boundaries. This is where you pull from your joy. That's why they tell you to eat good food, right? Food that gives you your energy, because you want to make sure that the food that you're eating is able to produce happiness and joy for you. You don't want to eat food that brings you into a lower state, right? A lower sense of mind. You want to make sure that the food that you're eating is actually uplifting you. Okay? Right here is your sacral chakra. Your sacral chakra for us as women, it houses our womb. Not only does it house our womb, but for men as well, it houses our intestines, because men also have intestines. They don't have a womb, but they have intestines. So this houses your intestines. This also houses your adrenals, your adrenal glands as well, right here. Okay. Down here is your root chakra. Your root chakra is where all of your sexual organs is located. For men, it's going to be like their testes and things like that. For us, it's literally the physical vessel of our womb. Okay, this is also a part of the womb as well. But we're just going to keep our focus right here on the sacral chakra, right below your belly button. Okay, right below your belly button. Okay, you're going to make sure that is, just wanted to point that out and just let you know that is where your womb is located. It's not actually located as low as you think that it is. Our womb is actually right below your belly button. Right below your belly button. I have an exercise where I'm going to show you something later when it comes down to that. So just bear with me. But speaking about the spiritual essence of the sacral chakra, the sacral chakra is known to be the pleasure center, right? It's the pleasure center. It's the center that helps you tap into your creativity, right? Because it is the energy center that you essentially use to create life, to birth things, right? Whenever you have like a coloring page and you're sitting there, you're coloring, you are stimulating your sacral chakra. You are bringing things to life. You are getting in touch with your emotions. You're expressing your emotions. And it is giving you a sense of pleasure. It is giving you a sense of joy. This is also the center where we love to dance and listen to music and things like that, right? Sound familiar? Sounds like everything womanly, right? Yes. And just to briefly touch on the root chakra, the root chakra is known to be the grounding center, because it is the center that basically is pulling and attaching your energy to the earth. Okay, so this center is known to bring on things of fight or flight, but fight or flight just kind of lets you know, like, am I meant to be here or am I not meant to be here? And is this something that I'm meant to help and be a part of? Or is this not a part of my manifestation, not a part of my purpose, not a part of my divine plan and who I am and things like that? This is also what connects you to nature. Okay, so whenever you go out and you go for a walk or things like that, you're stimulating your root chakra. Okay, so I really wanted to make sure that I briefly touched on the sacral chakra and the root chakra as well, because they are very, very, very important. Okay, so keep that in mind. For the sacral chakra, right, it is your pleasure center, right? So you want to make sure that you are doing things at all times. For us as women, especially because we have an extra organ located here other than our counterparts. We have an extra organ, so that means that we have to take extra care of ourselves. Yes, that means that there are other physical activities, because we have the physical manifestation of that womb. So there's other physical activities that we need to do to honor this. Okay, not to mention that the sacral chakra has its own clock, which brings me right on into our next thing here that we're going to talk about here. And I wanted to make sure that I spoke about the physical manifestation that we have, and that our counterparts, our men, do not have that physical manifestation of it, right? Because they don't go through the same things that we go through, right? But because of that, that still means that we have to, just prioritize taking care of ourselves and things like that, okay? So the next thing that I'm going to do is go through the 4 cycles that we go through as women during our menstrual cycle, during our menstrual phase. It's important that we understand that there are 4 different seasons or cycles that we go through as women, because we're not always the same throughout the month, right? You guys can already, you ladies can already tell that, you know, I've seen this jokingly maybe on social media, right? Where women may say, oh, I'm only normal only 1 week out of the month, or, things like that. And it's not, I wouldn't say we're only normal 1 week out of the month. I would just say that there's more that we have to work with. We just have to honor our bodies. We have to honor our body's natural rhythm. The womb has a clock of her own. She has a clock of her own. She's not on our time. She's on her own time. And because of that, we have to respect it. It's the thing that literally sets us apart as women. So because it's the thing that literally sets us apart as women, we have to make sure that we're honoring and focusing on that, okay? So what I would like to do here is go through all 4 cycles, okay? I'm going to save the best one for last because there is so many different things that I could talk about for each phase, right? There's so many things that I could talk about for each phase. So the first phase that I want to talk about, okay, we're going to go in order. So the first thing I want to talk about is the menstrual phase, right? The menstrual phase is when the lining of the uterus has shedded and now you have begun to bleed, which is why, we begin bleeding. The season of our body is considered the winter. So yes, we go through all 4 seasons, not just based off of the earth and whenever it's winter or it's July, so it's summer. No, our bodies go through different seasons throughout the month. So the menstrual cycle, that cycle is considered the winter season. It's when you have the lowest amount of energy, right? It's when you just literally just feel like doing nothing. And guess what? We should honor that. Honor that, because that is when your body has the lowest energy levels. Not to mention that your hormone levels, a hormone called progesterone, that hormone literally decreases. It depletes, it drops down to its lowest, and it drops down because the estrogen levels are beginning to rise to assist us with, the shedding process that we're going through during our menstrual cycle. So I like to make sure that I recommend not only food to eat, but exercises and things that you can do during your menstrual cycle. So I like to recommend food-wise, you want to make sure that you're eating some soup. You want to make sure that you're eating mushrooms, beets, and make sure that you're getting those fresh steamed veggies and making sure that you're getting a good healthy amount of greens. That means kale, that means spinach, make you a nice salad, get you a green smoothie. And the reason why you want to make sure that you're getting greens specifically is because your energy levels have depleted, and the greens will assist you with having some kind of energy, right? Throughout your day, throughout your cycle. You want to make sure that you're getting something. You want to make sure that you're eating soup, because soup is warm to the body. It's going to warm your womb. It's going to warm that energy center for you, okay? It's going to give you some comfort, because the sacral chakra is also, not only is it the pleasure center and the creative center, but it's also the center of the mother, okay? It is the center of the mother. We all have motherly energy. And in a sense, we are all mothers. Even if you have children or if you don't, you're still a mother in some way because you have the mother energy within you. So it is important that you tap into this and mother yourself. And that soup will help you to tap into that energy and help you to mother yourself, okay? You want to make sure that you're eating beets because, of course, you are what you eat. And beets are red. So you want to make sure that you're eating like red foods as well to assist with the blood, okay? Because you're going to be losing blood during your menstrual cycle. So you want to make sure that you don't just feel completely sluggish and completely depleted because of the fact that you're having your menstrual cycle. I mean, consider, depending on where you are and how your menstrual cycle is, we already kind of go through enough. So eating the right kind of foods will definitely not only give you some joy, but it will give you a whole lot of pleasure and comfort, okay? So some things that I like to recommend women to do during that time is literally, if you can do nothing, do nothing. If you must exercise, please limit it to low impact exercises only. Try to just do some minimum walking. Try to do maybe some yoga, some stretching. You don't want to stress yourself too much because you already are depleted energetically wise. So you want to make sure that you're not stressing yourself too much. Prioritize sleep, prioritize rest, journal if you need to, because it can be a very emotional time, right? During that menstrual, during your menstrual, it can be very emotional. Your estrogen levels are peaked. So you want to make sure that you are journaling to make sure that you are keeping a balance with yourself emotionally, because she's already stressed going through a thing or two, having to shed herself, okay? So you just want to make sure that you do that to be gentle with yourself. I like to also recommend our women to please set intentions. Use that time to set intentions for what's coming up. You know, if you know you have a big project coming up, if you know you have something to do next week after your menstrual cycle, plan for to do some things after the menstrual cycle. Try not to do things during, because you're just not energetically there. And I also like to throw in a little bit of beauty there as well too, because during this time, our skin tends to get really dry. You get really dry during that time of the month because your skin is already pulling and you know, because of the blood, you losing blood and things like that. So it really messes with your skin. So you want to make sure that you are staying on top of moisturizing yourself. Maybe do a moisturizing facial mask or something like that of that nature. Do a little bit of self-care just to kind of help you feel good, you know, and feel good in your skin. This brings us next, and then not to mention that the menstrual phase lasts for at least 1 to 5 days. If you are outside of that 5 days, then you want to make sure that you are really taking care of yourself and really monitoring yourself, because you're kind of in what we like to call the you want to just, you're in the phase of what we like to call the, not the danger zone, but this is like the caution zone. Like, you know, you're kind of coming across like, you know, like the red flags are kind of starting to come up at that point in time. And it's okay to be in that phase if you are. This just means that we need to prioritize more self-care, being on top of your schedule, and making sure that you're really, really notating your symptoms at that time, because it could indicate toward other diseases like endometriosis and fibroids and PCOS and things of that nature. But we will get into that in just a second. The next phase is follicular. Your follicular days last for at least 7 to 8 days. It gives you a good week, you know, and this is when the week right after your cycle, the day after your cycle, you're immediately in your follicular phase. And this is considered your spring phase, right? This is when you start to feel good again, right? You know, that first day when you first off of your cycle and you're like, yes, I am off of my cycle. I am doing it. Like, yes, I am here. I feel like I can conquer the world now, you know? And that's good that you feel that way, right? Because your energy levels are back on the rise at that point in time. Food that I love to recommend to eat, if you are a meat eater, make sure that you're eating red meat. Make sure it's because of the protein. You want to make sure that you're giving yourself some protein so that you can build your energy levels back up. Make sure you're keeping that protein on the reserve in your body, right? So that whenever for the next phase, you have that much more energy to expend, and make sure that you have that. It's almost like having gas in your tank, you know, type of thing. I also love to recommend eggs for, again, the protein. You want to start getting into your fruits and your veggies because your energy levels is rising. So you want to honor that energy rise, right? It's almost like a relationship. You want to honor that energy rise by assisting the energy rise with good, healthy foods. Okay, I also recommend some fiber at this point in time because your body kind of went through a lot during the menstrual cycle. So you want to make sure that you're giving your body some fiber. Also, flax seeds are really good at this time too during the follicular phase. What I like to recommend women to do during this time, start a new project. This is the time because it's spring, right? So you want to start basically making sure that you're starting those new projects. You want to make sure that you're being super intentional with your plans at this point in time because you're in the spring phase. So now you can begin things at this point in time. Exercise wise, I like to recommend women to do some cardio, do some strength training, build up your strength. It's time to get yourself back together, right? Build that strength back up. Hit that cardio, get your heart rate up, right? Because again, we're honoring the rise and the increase. So you want to build that strength and go ahead and let that cardio, let that heart rate get up because you're just honoring the rise, the spring that is happening within your body. Also, feel free to learn something new. This is a good time for our brains because estrogen and progesterone are actually balanced at this point in time for yourself. So because you have a good balance hormonally, it allows you, and again, focus. Your focus comes from here. Okay, your focus comes from here. This also, your pineal gland also helps deal with a lot of your hormones as well. So when you're focused here, it allows you to really be able to take a new class, learn something new, get into a new hobby because you have the focus to do so. So I would say take full advantage once you're straight off of your menstrual cycle. Go ahead and learn something new and do that new thing that you had been maybe putting off on the back burner for a little bit. Also, brainstorming can be good as well too. Again, because you're hormonally balanced, so you're a lot more clear up here. You have a lot less brain fog going on up here during the follicular phase. Again, the day after your cycle for the next 7 days. This leads us next to the ovulation phase. Okay, the ovulation phase. The ovulation phase can last anywhere in between 2 and 3 days to 5 days. Okay. And this is the season of summer, right? This is when your body is ready to party. This is when you feel like you can socialize with the entire world. You're ready to dance. You're ready to groove. You know, this is when your libido spikes up, you know, so you feel like you're single and you're ready to mingle type of thing. And it's because you're ovulating, which is all good. That's good. That's normal, right? That's good. That's really, really good. This is when your energy levels is the highest. Food that I love to recommend to eat during this time. Again, fiber. Again, flax seeds. Just to honor this rise in energy. You know, you want to make sure that you're equipped with everything that you need. I love to recommend ashwagandha at this point. It is a natural herb that you can take for yourself because ashwagandha is a good hormonal balancer. So when your libido and everything gets to spiking up and stuff like that, ashwagandha can really help kind of like cool the heat, as I like to call it. It can really cool the heat, you know, because sometimes when we ovulate, it can get a little crazy, you know, depending on you know, how your body ovulates. I also like to recommend women to eat a lot of fish. Get your omegas in if you are pescatarian or a meat eater. Make sure that you eat a lot of fish. If not, make sure that if you're more plant-based and vegan like myself, you want to make sure that you're eating avocados and make sure that you're getting any kind of nuts. So almonds, walnuts, cashews, as well as seeds. So like chia seeds, chia seeds, hemp seeds, as well as your flax seeds. I said that one already, but you know, you just want to make sure that you are honoring your body at that point in time. Also, what I recommend to do, you want to make sure that you are, this is, again, because your energy levels is that high, you're free to really do kind of like hit the ground running. So go for your heavy runs, your long runs, do your heavy lifting. I also like to recommend to go ahead and have that hard conversation that you've been waiting to have, because your energy levels and your body supports it. Okay, you want to make sure that you're able to go ahead and maybe launch that business, host that meeting, because your energy levels simply support it. You know, your energy levels just simply support it. Next, I would like to talk about avoiding. Oh, one thing you want to do is avoid anything that might give you high anxiety during this time, because your anxiety levels can be high during this time because of all the hormonal changes that your body is going through. Your energy levels are spiking. So you want to make sure that you are really honoring that time, okay? The next phase is your luteal phase. And this can last from 7 to 8 days as well. It's pretty long too. And this is considered your fall season. So at this point, there's typically a decrease in energy at this time. You're going to start to feel your energy levels kind of deplete, right? You just went from a party in your body, to just kind of being like, no, I think I'm just going to chill. I think I'm just going to relax, okay? And when your body begins to do that, honor it. But be careful though, because at this time, your body loves to try to put you in front of a TV and make you snack on something sweet and distract you with something sweet, right? That sweet tooth really kicks in, and you want to be careful of that, because that's literally just a signal that your progesterone is dropping, okay? Your energy levels is dropping, and you want to be careful, because if you intake too much, it can affect your menstrual cycle and kind of make that a little bit difficult for you to deal with. So be careful of the sugar cravings. But if you must have any kind of sugar cravings, please keep it simple to dark chocolate or sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes is something that's really good. You are what you eat. This is orange, okay? Your sacral chakra is orange. So giving yourself some sweet potatoes, some oranges, you know, any food that is orange will help to satisfy that craving that you have, okay? Next, what I recommend to do during the luteal phase was, as your body is depleting in energy, you want to make sure that you're just doing light cardio. Maybe do some Pilates, do some yoga. Keep your workouts very moderate. You know, try not to do too much heavy lifting around this time, because, you know, you're going to go from, in the ovulation phase, you were going crazy in the gym lifting and everything. And now all of a sudden the next week, you're like, wow, why can't I lift that same thing that I was lifting before? And it's simply just because your body is in a different state at that point in time. You may experience mood swings at this time, but that's okay if you do experience mood swings. That's just a part of your hormones changing and you shifting into that menstrual cycle, okay? You may also feel a little bit sore. And I also love to recommend women to maybe do like a facial mask, because acne can come up during that time as your body simply just shifts, okay? So next, I would love to talk to you all about organic items that you can use during that time of the month. One brand that I love to use is the Elle brand. This is a 100% pure cotton. Okay, as you can see, it is chlorine free. It is free of dyes, free of synthetic pesticides and fragrances. The reason why I felt it was important to get on here and to speak about the products that we use is because most products that you find in the store are not friendly to our bodies. Okay, the pesticides, the dyes, the fragrances can all disrupt your cycle when we're already going through an intense time. So please make sure you do your research to make sure that you are picking products that honor where your body is at, okay? They even have tampons as well. If you're a tampon kind of girly, they also have Elle brand. They also have organic options as well. There are other brands as well that are organic, like Honey Pot. I know that's another brand. But Elle and Honey Pot are like my main go-tos that I absolutely love. Next, I would love to talk to you about some crystals that you can use and just have on your person during that time of the month. One crystal I recommend highly is the carnelian. The carnelian is known to be a stimulating stone. It's also known to help increase and keep your blood circulating. And this is important during that time of the month because you want to make sure that you have this because it can prevent hemorrhaging. A lot of the time, sometimes when we may have blood clots not blood clots, cramping and things like that, it's because we are experiencing blood clots. So this assists with helping you to push through those blood clots and helping you to just overall just honor your body. Another stone I recommend is the citrine. I actually recommend the citrine for you to have this during your other phases as well as your menstrual phase, because especially during the luteal, because during the luteal phase, again, your energy levels can feel depleted, and this citrine can kind of serve as a pick-me-up during those moments where your body is just going through a lot of different changes. So carnelian and citrine, those are two crystals that are very, very good with helping you hormonally, spiritually, helping you to just be in good spirits, and just helping you to stay in touch with your body's natural cycles. Okay? And so the last thing that I would love to talk to you all about is something simple, like a simple exercise that I would love to show you all that I do right here. Feel free to do it with me, okay? Feel free to do it with me. We are going to do some womb affirmations. So this right here is called a mudra. A mudra is basically a way to connect with the energy in your body. And what we're going to do is invert it. And I want you to place the thumbs right underneath your belly button. Okay? Go ahead and do it with me. Place it right underneath your belly button. And as you do so, I want you to take note of your pinkies. Please take note of your pinkies. Take note of your pinkies. Wherever you feel your pinkies are, please note that that is where your ovaries are. Okay? So know that from the thumb on down to the pinkies, we are covering the entire womb. That is where your womb is. It's actually not that big. It's not as big as you think that it is. If you can make a fist, that's about the size of your womb, really, the body of it. And so we are going to close our eyes here, and we're just simply going to breathe into our womb. I just want you to take a couple deep breaths with me, and we're just simply going to say a few affirmations as we close out this class, because I pray that you took something away from this video. I pray that something I said resonated with you and that you were able to take something away from this class. So let us begin. You're going to breathe deeply. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale again. Exhale. All right. Repeat after me. I am whole. I am magical. I am filled with joy. My womb is safe. I love my womb. I listen to my womb. I am in touch with my womb. I am one with my womb. Inhale. Exhale. One more time. Inhale. Exhale. On this inhale, I want you to make sure that you are expanding the belly. Expand your belly. Breathe deeply into your belly. So your belly should expand on the inhale. And on the exhale, you're going to contract. Bring your belly back inside, okay? Inhale. Exhale. All right, my sisters. That is how you breathe into your womb. That is how you connect with your womb. Again, I pray and I hope that you all were able to take something away from this class, because everything that I'm talking about can literally assist with fibroids, endometriosis, PCOS, or any other diseases or things like that that we deal with when it comes down to us in our womanhood as women, okay? I want to make sure that you feel comfortable, you feel safe, and you feel secure in tracking your cycle and getting to know your body and understanding your body. So peace and blessings to those. Please feel free to follow me on my TikTok as well as my Instagram, because on my TikTok is where I really love to dive deep. I love to walk my collective through womb affirmations and womb meditations. I also give out womb collective messages where I'm able to tap into the energy of our wombs on a grander scale to see what it is that we all need, because we all have a womb. So honestly, our issues really aren't that too far apart from one another. So why not do it together? Why not join and band together to help us succeed in overcoming these diseases that we may go through? And hopefully in the next couple years, right, with this information becoming widespread, we will begin to tackle these issues together as women. So I thank you so much for spending so much time with me. Thank you so much for giving me the time and the opportunity to expand and to get my information out here and to just allow me and my love to touch you. Thank you for trusting me. Thank you for doing this with me. Peace and blessings to you on your journey, and I will see you soon. Peace.